Welcome everyone. Today we're going to be learning how to play Cherry Pie on guitar. This is a song by Warrant released in 1990 off of the album of the same name. It's a pretty easy-ish kind of rock song. I think you're going to enjoy really learning it because it's not too challenging, but we're going to do the solo as well, which is a little more challenging. But all the tabs are provided as always. You know what to do. Let's go. The track starts off with both channels doing essentially the same thing, and it sounds like they're starting around the 15th fret, but just grab the two bottom strings and just do a random slide. You don't have to be super accurate where you start, but I start on the 15th fret, but anywhere around that 12th to 15th fret area should get the job done. And then we're going to walk up some power chords here, an open A to a C on the 3rd fret of the A string, and then up another whole step to D on the 5th fret of that A string, and play that twice. Okay? And then we're going to hit our bottom string E, that open E, twice, just a down up, and we're not going to put a palm mute on that. And then go to an F power chord, 1st fret of that bottom string, down up, down up. Move up a whole step to G, down up, down up. And then we're going to get into this little run. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 1E and a 3E, a 4E and a. And that little run, it starts with an E palm mute and then goes 5, 4, 2, 0 on the A string. Okay, a quick little play through nice and slow. And then we get into the first chorus and we start by hitting an open E power chord twice. Go to a G power chord twice. Now this G power chord is basically just a G chord, how you would get a G, but we're just not going to worry about that first finger on the A string, how you would get a typical G. We're just going to make sure that our second finger is laying across the A string so that it's dead. And then we can strum through all 6 strings and we just have a nice big G power chord. Okay, so E power chord twice, G power chord twice, and then A power chord twice. Okay, now we're going to fret this C, we'll call it a C sus2 because it doesn't have a 3rd the way we're playing it. But you could also think of it as a C add 9. It's, you know, a lot of you would maybe have learned that chord and it's the same thing, but it's going to be the same trick really as the G chord where we're getting a C add 9, but just lift that first finger and mute off the D string with the underside of that second finger. Okay, and then we're going to come up to a D power chord. Okay, so. And then we repeat the E's, G, and now to finish this, okay, we go G, D, A. Now, that's what the rhythm part is. And the guitar in the right channel is really just doing that, what I just showed you, without any embellishment. Okay, now, and it's the guitar in the left-hand channel that's adding a little bit more to that part, and that's the one that I performed. And the first thing that we're going to do is add a couple of chucks between, in front of the power chord stabs. So we start with our E power chord, and now lay your hands across the strings, and you might even want to just drop this hand and get a couple of chucks. You're just going to go down, up, and get your next power chords to the G, and then to the A. Okay, so it's a 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2 and a 3. Okay, and then there's the difference at the end there too that kind of makes that pop, is that guitar on the left is introducing spaces between those power chords, like, and you could even go where you get some chucks in between those. You can do that. It is there, you know, they played it a little bit different slightly every time, but you can put those chucks in there. And then that guitar on the right is just ringing those like that. So between those two guitars, doing that slightly different really adds to the track. And that's how you play the chorus, the first chorus, and we'll get into the other choruses as we go through the track. Next, we have our hook riff. We start off our hook riff by palm muting the open E string. Okay, so one palm mute on that low string. And now we're gonna fret the 7th fret on the A string with our 3rd finger, hit that. Back to 2 palm mutes on the open E. Come down to the 5th fret of that A string. And now open E palm mute. Come down to the 4th fret on A. Open E palm mute. 5 on A. And then 5 on E with a little bend. Okay, so we have this. 1 E and a 2, a 3 E and a, okay? Okay, now we repeat that again, and then we tack a couple of power chords on at the end. So it's all the same, except we just go A power chord on 5th fret of the low string, down a whole step to G, okay? Now we repeat that first measure. And at our very last measure of this hook riff, we alter the ending a little bit. Okay, so that's all the same. E, hit the 7th fret on the A, back to E twice, and then 5, E. And now here it's different, where we're gonna go 5, pull off to 4, and then hit an open A, then reverse these chords. We're gonna go G up to the A, right? The first time we went A down to G. The second time around here, we're gonna go G up to A. Okay, and that's our hook riff. Here it is nice and slow. And then we get into our first verse. Now I'm just going through this song sequentially because every time a verse comes up, every chorus, there's something different in every one. So these differences are super subtle, not a huge deal, but it's just gonna be easier if we just play through each part, and then I'll quickly explain the differences here. So the first verse, I mean, all the verses here are probably the easiest part of the song. Nice, not a lot going on here. We're just taking an open E and you go down, up quick. And then you wait a measure and do that again. And then D, A, and down up on that E. Okay, so the timing is 1 E, 2, 3, 4, 1 E, 2, 3, 4, 1 E. Okay, now what we want to do is jump up and hit the 14th fret of our A string and slide down, and then we're going to hit an open A and hammer pull from the 2nd fret. So open, 2, open, and now come up a string to the D string, 2 open, and now open G, back to the D string 2nd fret. Okay? And then 2 hits on that E again. Repeat that D, A. And then to finish off that first verse, we have the hook riff that kind of connects the first verse to the second. And we don't play that whole 4 measures, we just play the second 2 measures. So we just play this. One thing I do want to mention about this verse, for those of you that are practicing this in a band, maybe you're going to get out there and play this live and want it to sound as cool as it can. Over the years, they've started doing this on the guitars. On the album, it's the bass that picks up halfway through the verse. So there's 2 measures of, right? Now, then the bass picks up there. But over the years, they've started doing that on the guitar as well. So it sounds really cool. Here, I'll give it a quick play. And if you want to add this into your live show, it definitely beefs the part up, and you know, it's pretty rocking. So it would be like this. Okay, so like I said on the album, it's the bass that's doing that. And all that we're doing is just putting E palm mutes in. So it'd be 1 E and 2 and 3 E and a 4 E and 1 E and 2 and 3, 4. Okay, I'll play that really slow one more time. And then we get into our second verse. So I'll just quickly play through the second verse for you, and then we'll talk about the minor differences that happen there. Okay, so the second verse is virtually the same as the first. In measure 1, we're tacking in a different E power chord. We're going to start off the same with a down up on that open E. And then on beat 4, we have an E power chord an octave higher. So 2nd fret on the D string, and then 4th fret on your G string, and 5th fret on the B string. Okay? And you can give it a little shake too, for some stank on it. And then back. And the whole verse plays exactly the same as the first. The only thing, there's no slide into that little pentatonic-y type thing that they have there. That fill, I guess I should call it. Other than that, the verse is all the same. Now, we do have a pre-chorus at the end of that second verse going into the chorus. And that pre-chorus, nothing really new to talk about there. We just go, we had these chords in the intro of the song. A, C on the 3rd fret of the A string, D, repeat that D, open E, and now we're, okay, 4 hits on the F on the 1st fret, and 4 hits on the G on the 3rd fret. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and then we're into our chorus. So that's our pre-chorus, and now we're going to get into the second chorus. There's a little bit of a difference from the first chorus. Here we go. So this second chorus, not a lot different than the first, but you'll notice that it's twice as long. Not a big deal though, we just play the same thing twice. So we've just extended the 4 measures to 8. But there is that little fill type thing halfway through that's new. And all the tabs have it wrong, so I just want to touch on it so that you've got it. A lot of tabs say to jump up and play something around the 5th fret area, but that's not right. So you start off the same, go E to G, A, that C, C sus2, D, and then repeat that, E, G, now the G, D, A, and now this. Okay, that little fill, that's what they're actually doing there. And so you go G, D, A, and now you want to put your 2nd finger down on the 2nd or the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and your 3rd finger down on the 4th fret of the D string, right? So it always reminds me of Kiss. Kiss like to do this little thing all the time, right? Very classic rock sort of thing. So you put those fingers down and hit that twice and kind of release the pressure to get that short. And then you do it twice. Pull off both fingers so that you're back to an A. And now just hit the bottom couple of strings of that A power chord. So it would be N4 EN, and then you can repeat that the next part of the chorus, and that's the exact same as what we learned in the very first chorus. And then we get into our next verse, and again, just a slight little difference there. Let's go through that. So due to all the little minor differences in this song, as well as for the sake of completeness, I thought it would just be easiest to perform each section and then just briefly talk about anything that we need to. But there's not really anything to talk about with verse 3. It's the same as verse 2, we just don't play for the first 6 beats. There's just 6 beats of rest. So we come in on beat 3 in measure 2 with that D and A power chords, and then we carry on through the rest of that verse and pre-chorus the same as we did in verse 2. Let's move on. As you can see, chorus 3 is the same as chorus 2. We just have to tack a little bit on to get into our solo. So we end it the same way with a G, D, A. And then we're actually going to slide up to A again, an octave higher. So I use my 3rd finger and I slide into the 14th frets on the D and the G. And then shake them. And then hold that for 3 beats. Grab the 12th fret on the bottom string and slide it down on beat 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're into the solo. Our solo features a key change to A, and the first 4 measures of this is just sliding back and forth between an A and a B power chord on the low string, so the 5th and the 7th frets. So we go 5th fret, quickly slide up to the 7th and hit that twice, back to the 5th fret, back up to the 7th, and then we go 5, 7 again. Okay. 1 E and a 2 and a. Okay, that's measure 1, and then we just rest for beats 3 and 4. The second measure, we do the exact same thing, but then quickly come back to that A, and then just hit the G sharp, the 4th fret of that low string. Okay, 1 E and a 2 and a 3, 4. And then measures 3 and 4 of the solo are the exact same. And now the second half of the solo is the exact same hook riff that we've already learned, but we're just moving it up a string set because we're in the key of A. So I'm not going to go through every single note here because that's totally not necessary. We've already went through it all. Just everything that we've learned, move it up 1 string. So I'll play through it really slow, just for those of you that want to see that slow, and then we'll move on. Here we go. Last verse, nothing tricky here, same as the other verses except for our last measure. So we have this E an octave higher, D, A, E, and then our little pentatonic, that thing. And then we're going to go up to the 7th fret, which is an E power chord again, and just slide it down, and then hit the 2 bottom strings on the 12th fret and slide that down. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to get into our outro chorus. The last verse into the outro chorus doesn't feature a pre-chorus. It jumps into the final chorus right from the verse. So I'll do a quick playthrough of that outro chorus because it's also a key change back to the key of A. So here we go with that. final chorus features a key change to A minor, so everything's going to be moved up a fourth, but same overall concept. So we start by 2 hits on the A power chord, then to that C sus2, then to a D. Then we're going to go F and G, so first and third fret on that low string. So far we've got this. Repeat the A power chord twice, C sus2. Now this is a little bit new. Okay, so we go C to G to D. So the first move's pretty easy. C sus2 to the G, just move your second finger down 1 string. So then to the D. The third finger never has to move that whole time. Now, to finish this first 4 measures off, we have to get at the end. And so if you remember, the other choruses were in the key of E, and we had this on the A chord, right? That little. So to kind of imitate that, now that we're in the key of A minor, we have to go C, G, D, and then we're going to jump up, bar the 7th fret on the D, G, and B strings. But then we're going to use our second finger to hit the 8th fret, and then pull off to the 7th. And then hit it again. Okay? And then back to the A power chord. Now, that little trick, you could sit in open position here with a D. You could put your pinky up on the 3rd fret of the high string and pull off to the 2nd fret, right? It gives you the same effect, but I don't think they did that. And it does sound better if you can get the position shift and play those notes down a string set lower. Okay? And then, so that's basically the whole chorus. And then we can just start repeating here. A to the C, D, F, G, A. And we do that one more time. And then we do that C, G, D. There's an extra addition of that in there, but we don't have to jump up and do that the last time. So the 8th and 9th measures of that last chorus. And then, okay, we get out of that by doing, just like in the intro of the song, we had F and G. Well, we're going to do that, but now we're using power chords an octave higher. So we're going to fret the 3rd fret on the D string, 5th fret of G, and 6 of B. Okay, and still down, up, down, up. Moving up a whole step to G. And then repeat that. Get a slide in there, 12th fret of your low string. And then just that very first measure of the hook riff. And that slide that final note on the 5th fret down. And there's the song. Thanks for watching this video, guys. I hope that it's answering all the questions that you've had about this tune over the years, or if you're new to it and just learning it, I hope that this is going to be a one-stop shop for you so you don't have to go anywhere else. Remember that I provide tab to all of my lessons, and I always cover everything that you need to know, solos, all the riffs, all the little variations, and I even cover live versions in most of the stuff. So if you're into all that, that sounds good. Remember to hit that subscribe button and like so that you see more of this. Suggest in the comments some other videos that you'd like, some songs that you'd like to learn. I'd love to hear from you, and let's get back to it. So the solo starts with 2 little scratches to get into it. It's just 4 and a 1 and a 2, and then we get into this little 7th chord thing. It's a B7, but we're approaching it from a half step below. So what we're going to do is fret the 10th fret with the 2nd finger on the G string, 9th fret on the B string, and then 10th fret again on the high string. So we have this 3-note chord. And you might recognize it as a D7 down in open position, right? But we're just sliding that all the way up to the 10th fret and then sliding it 1 more half step. right? A very bluesy trick there. And now we want to do, it might take you a little while to feel that because it's a group of 3 over a pulse of 4, right? So we want to go 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and then on beat 4, you just do a random slide. You don't have to be accurate with that, just. But what you do is you slide that finger down and snap it off to get an open G very briefly before you bend the 10th fret on the B string a whole step. Okay, and then we release that 10th fret bend and we get some pinch harmonics here. So we go 10, 9 on the B string, come down to the G string 10, back up to 9, 10, 9 on the B string. And now we bend the 9th fret on the G string, nice slow bend. Getting it up that full step. Now, once you have that 9th fret bent up a whole step, this is going to be the first instance of hybrid picking. You don't have to use hybrid picking on this note, but I do, and I'm sure he would have too. Once you get comfortable with hybrid picking, it makes this kind of stuff pretty easy. But you bend that 9th fret up a whole step, and then use your pinky to grab the 10th fret on the B string, and I use my middle finger just to pluck that B string, and then come back to that already bent 9th fret on the G string, and then you want to release it. Pull off to 7, down to the 9th fret on D. And we're going to do some more hybrid picking at that point. We roll our 3rd finger up to the 9th fret of G, use your middle finger to pluck that, back to the 9th fret of the D string, up to 7 on G, to 9, and then we kind of repeat all this again. We bend 9, release it, pull off to 9 or 7, down to 9th fret on D, and then I hybrid pick there again to get that 9th fret on the G string and back down to 7. And that completes that little measure there. So nice and slow, that measure would be. Even a little bit slower. And now our next measure is just doing this again. Okay, so we just repeat that 9 fret bend on the G string, release it, pull off to 7, down to the 9th fret on D. I hybrid pick there as I roll my finger up to the 9th fret of G, and then 7th fret. And now, what you want to do is hit the harmonic on the 5th fret of the B string. That's the exact pitch that he's hitting. But I mean, you could do the Dimebag Darrell type thing there too, right? Where if you know that little trick, I won't get into it here, but you can create other little random harmonics if you want. But that exact pitch that he's hitting is that 5th fret of the B string. So what you would do is just lightly rest a finger over top of that fret wire. Don't actually push it down, don't fret it, but you just lightly touch the above the fret wire on that 5th fret, pluck it, and then dive your bomb down, or dive bomb the bar. And that gives you time to jump all the way up to bend the 20th fret on the B string, and you want to overbend that the first time, so bend it up a whole 1.5 steps, and then bend it 2 more times a whole step, and really give it some vibrato that second time. This is a little tricky thing. What you want to do, release that and pull off to 17, then down to 19, back up to 17 twice. And then we jump up to the 20th fret on the high string and we bend that once and then twice. And you can bend that one step and then a little slightly overbent the second time. And now we get into the fastest little passage, but it's not that difficult. And again, I see this incorrectly tabbed all the time. So this is actually going to be easier than what you probably have been trying to figure out if you've been working on this. What we do is we pluck the 17th fret and then we hammer onto 20 and pull off to 19. Okay? Happens really fast. And then 17, 19, 17, hammer pull. Okay, and then we just come down to the B string and just go 20, 19, 17 twice. Okay, and then we go bend 20 on the B string and release it, pull off to 17, then down to 19 on the G string, back up to 17 on the B string, back to 19 on the G string, and then bend it, and end on the 17th fret. Okay, so really slow, that little fast part. And now we slide that 17th fret down and we get into 5th position. Remember, this is in A minor here, our solo section. So we're gonna mess around in our A minor pentatonic box here on the 5th fret to finish this off. So we do another classic blues type lick where we start on the G string, 7th fret, bend that. And now with your first finger, bar across the 5th fret and get the B and the E strings on that 5th fret to back to the 5th fret on the B string. And I use my pinky there to bend the 8th fret on the B string. And you want to also hear it fall. And then you quickly bend the 7th fret on the G string. Okay, and then we get into that same hybrid chicken picking type thing that we had a couple of measures ago. So 8th, 7, bend that, release it, pull off to 5, down to the 7th fret on D, roll that 3rd finger and then use your middle finger to pluck the G string 7th fret, back to the 7th fret of D, and then 5th fret on the G string. Okay, now there's a little trick at the very end here, just to set you up in position to do this diminished scale here. So we end on the 5th fret, but now what you want to do is quickly pull off to open G and then hit it again with your 2nd finger. And then that gets us into position to finish our solo. So what that is 4 and 7 on the D string, 5 and 8 on the G string, skip up to 7 and 10 on the B string, and then 8, 11, and then 12 on the high string. And I find it easier if to shift and you just use my 1st and 3rd. I use my 1st and pinky until that high E string, then I use my 1st and 3rd. And now we have to jump all the way up to the 20th fret and bend that and release. And then bend the 22nd fret and just hold that for a couple of beats. And that's our solo. Now I'll play that slow for you, the last couple of measures, and then we've got it. Here we go. Thanks again for watching this video. I hope that it answered all the questions that you have with this song. Of course you enjoyed it, so be sure to hit subscribe and like so that you keep seeing this. Support the channel so that I can keep doing it for you, and I'll see you next time.